The Recharge.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Recharge. I'm Ruben Gonzalez and that's Matthew Stanley. And we are coming off another victory, the third straight for the Chargers. So without further ado, let's recharge. All right, man. The Chargers have won 3 in a row. This time against the Denver Broncos. They won 21-0. Let's talk about the shutout. First time in a long time, and everything's going well right now for the Chargers.
Yeah, it was a really good game. The defense obviously was the star of the show, besides Travis Benjamin. The defense played lights out. There was tons of pressure on Trevor Siemian. They didn't give him any time. Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Chris McCain, all of them were firing on all cylinders, even when the refs, tried to take one out of Mel's hands with that just absolute garbage roughing the passer call. That was crap. We all know it. It was a clean hit. But the rest of the game, it went pretty well too. Travis Benjamin had a punt return, even though, we've been dogging on him big time for his, not doing so well in the punt return game, but he took one back and it was really nice to see. And the offense did just enough to not get him in trouble. They didn't turn the ball over. They just, did what they needed to do. And then we also got to mention Drew Kaiser, who just had an amazing game. And that 69-yard punt was magical.
Hopefully they're calling it the best punt in NFL history. It certainly had a lot of qualities of that punt. But one of the big things that happened in that game is the sacks came big against the Broncos. And if you've been following us on Twitter or any of the BFTB staff, we've been calling Bosa and Ingram the Super Sack Brothers. Want to elaborate on that? You think it's going to catch on?
I don't know. I think there's a good conversation going on Twitter right now trying to find a good nickname for them. They obviously need a nickname. I mean, they're probably the most elite pass rushing duo in the league, so we got to give them something. And Mel Rio and Joe E.G. are pretty good. I don't know if that makes Chris McCain like Mikiyoshi. But yeah, that's a fun conversation to have. We definitely got to find them a good nickname because they're just outstanding with what they do. I mean, not only are they both performing at a high level, but you can see them helping each other. You can see Joey Bosa actively trying to get blockers away from Melvin Ingram so that he can run in free. They're really, really fun to watch, especially when they throw them on the same side.
You've talked about Bosa, and some of us expected this. He had the pedigree in college, so for him to continue this consistency shouldn't be alarming. But Melvin Ingram has certainly stepped up his game, and to go from, perhaps I'll go ahead and say it, almost mediocre to where he is now, that's a big jump from last year and the years past to this year.
Yeah, so I mean, Mel had.
But what happened? What's the difference?
I think he's really just committed himself. I mean, he's had a little help with this is the longest period of time that he's been healthy. If you include last season and then rolling into this season, this is the longest he's been healthy. So he's been able to, stay committed. He's been able to be in the gym. He's been able to be in practice, refining his craft. I'm sure I'm sure it also helps to have a rusher of Bosa's caliber to help take some of the heat off, but also B, I'm sure they bounce things off of each other saying, hey, maybe try this next time. This will probably work. Or, you can really see them to working together, and it's really helping Melvin Ingram. And it's good to see, especially after the team rewarded him with that big contract in the offseason. It's nice to not have any drop off and actually have him, improving his production.
Yeah, that could have totally went a whole different way, a la Donald Butler. Let's talk about Travis Benjamin. Clutch performer of the week, saved his job perhaps because, like you alluded, a lot of people out there thinking he was going to be the odd man out. He kind of solidified that perhaps he does have a place on this roster with Mike Williams back in the fold. So perhaps he saved a job, right?
Yeah, I mean, he needed to show that he has a place in this offense and that he can contribute on special teams because, I mean, he really wasn't doing anything on special teams up until this week. And I think Kyle Posey put it best when he said, "Hey, look what happens when you don't run for the sideline first thing." Uh, and that's exactly what happened. He stayed in the middle of the field. Everyone was the defense was expecting him to run straight to the sideline to avoid contact, and he just cut it up the middle and went. So yeah, I think he definitely. I think as we got close to that trade deadline, I mean, it was either going to be Travis Benjamin or Dontrell Inman that were going to be the odd man out. And I think that, he just kind of put the icing on the cake and showed, you guys got to keep me around. And so, yeah, he went out and probably had the best game as a Charger.
And Benjamin is so fast. Unless he makes those big plays, you really don't see how fast he is. Nobody can
Yep.
catch him.
Yeah, and he
Um,
doesn't even
so
look like he's running that fast. He just glides by people.
yeah, so yeah, good to see him now. Perhaps Tyrell, he may be the odd one out. Let's talk defense again because it was a shutout. So uh, got with the Tachu, Jared Tachu available all of a sudden. The defense and Gus Bradley trotted out a new type of defensive front.
Yeah, they had a super athletic front out there where everyone's calling it the NASCAR front. And that's what it was. It was all about speed. You had Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Chris McCain, and Jerry Itachi as the front four. And that's just unfair against NFL offensive linemen. I mean, there's maybe a handful of offensive linemen in this league that can handle that kind of speed. And when you have it coming from all four guys, it was just they were getting crazy production out of that. And the because it was so new too, there was nothing Denver could have done to game plan for it. And so it took them completely by surprise, and it was wrecking stuff. I mean, it was really fun to watch out there. Ricky Henney on Twitter earlier in the week had mentioned, I'm looking forward, like when they announced that Jerry was probably going to play because Corey Liuget was going to be out. He said, look for all four of those guys to be on the field at the same time. So when it happened, that was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a sight to behold. So we're going to keep this little section here on the rundown. You see it there. We've had it for a few weeks already. It says 3-4. Got hope for. We're going to keep it on it because they keep winning. So 3-4. What are we hoping for now?
Um, this question is getting harder and harder to answer every week. I still don't know if they're a playoff team at this point. They still have some question marks. As good as this game was for the Chargers, the offense didn't do great. To get stuck on the goal line like that and not be able to punch it in that first time when they ran it four times with Melvin Gordon, that's not a good look. And I know the Denver defense is a really, really good defense, especially in the secondary, but they still, if you take away the Travis Benjamin play, they really didn't do a lot in the pass game. They had a couple chunk plays to Hunter Henry, but I mean, that definitely needs to improve. So they definitely have to tie some things up offensively. And this week is probably going to be a huge statement. John Gennaro, he's working on a new podcast, and it's all about statistics and everything. And their experts were saying that if the Chargers go and beat the Patriots in New England, their chances of making the playoffs are going to jump 20 to 25% over what they are now. So this week, I mean, we've kind of said it a couple times in a row, but I think it boils down to this week really is their season. If they win this game, you go balls to the wall and you push for the playoffs hard. If you lose this week, you have the bye week, and then you play a very good Jacksonville team this year with a crazy good defense and a really powerful rushing attack, which the Chargers haven't been great against. I mean, if they don't win this game, things are going to start looking bad because it's going to be 3-5 heading into the bye, and then probably a loss right after the bye, and now you're looking at 3-6, and things just don't look great for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they can play a couple teams who are going to probably be fighting for that one of those wild cards in the next few weeks. And so all these games coming up are going to be really important. Before we get on to the Patriots preview, let's say farewell to Dontrell Inman. He's been a good team player for the Chargers all these years, and it's kind of sad to see him go. But he didn't have a spot on this year's roster, and he's been good enough to us that we should at least wish him well in Chicago because he does deserve to get some playing time, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to see him go there. He came and proved that he proved last season that he had improved leaps and bounds in basically every aspect of his game. He came and he was a reliable target for Rivers last year. He finished the year with over 800 receiving yards. You could tell that the offense, trusted him at the end of the season. And then it was just kind of unfortunate timing that, you know, they knew that there was going to be a competition for that wide receiver five spot, and he got hurt near the end of the off season, and so he was kind of slow getting going this summer and at the beginning of the season. But it kind of works out in the end for him because if he had stayed here, this was the last year of his contract, and he would have been in that kind of fifth wide receiver role and not really had a chance to get a lot of production that would have made him money in a new contract. And now he goes to Chicago where their wide receiver core has been just decimated by injuries, and now he's going to be a featured piece in their offense as a receiver. He's going to be their number one, number two wide receiver because of how many people they have hurt. And so he's going to be able to put together a pretty good stat line for the rest of the year and be able to go out and and say, okay, I had 800 reception yards last year. This year I got a bigger role when they traded me to Chicago, and I produced there. So show me the money, give me a contract because I'll go out there and play for you. So it's going to work out for him in the end.
For him. So let's move on. Let's preview the Patriots game this week. Um, Belichick's defense, Belichick's offense, he's been saying nice things about the Chargers. Some say it could be a trap, trying to make the Chargers feel a little good. I don't know how much that is. What I do know is that the weather is supposed to be pretty bad. You've been to different parts of the world. Have you ever heard of a bomb cyclone? That's what they're calling this.
No, I haven't heard of that one before.
But it's supposed to be wet. How's
Yeah.
the Chargers going to do again in the wet environment?
So I know Melvin Gordon struggled last week, but that Denver defense is leaps and bounds better than the Patriots defense. Now you combine that with the fact that the Patriots are going to be without their best linebacker, Donta Hightower, who apparently tore his pectoral muscle and is going on the IR, and their best run-stopping defensive tackle, Malcolm Brown, is also out. He didn't practice at all this week, and he's going to be out. The Chargers are going to be able to run on the ground, and even if if the weather lets up for a little bit and they can pass the ball, or if they trust the receivers enough and Rivers trusts the ball enough to be able to throw, the Patriots have the worst pass defense in the league by far.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be able to do some good work. I mean, I was looking up some stats this week, and it looks like the Patriots defense on average gives up almost 8 yards on first downs, which is just insane. And so getting Melvin Gordon going on first down and being able to set up second and third and short and set up the play action is going to be the recipe to win this game on offense.
Speaking of, I guess defensively for the Chargers, who would you be worried about? Gronk, the running backs, or the receiving core?
So I'm still going to be worried about the running backs. The Chargers haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 3 straight games after starting really poorly the first 3 weeks. But they are still kind of weak there. And with the way that the linebackers have been playing, especially this past week, the defense has been running a new package, a 4-1-6 package with only one linebacker and 6 defensive backs. And so that'll help against the pass, and it'll help kind of minimize Gronk, but it'll be a lot harder for these defensive backs to come up and make these tackles against running backs. So I'm gonna be worried about the running backs more than anything. But it is Gronk. I mean, you always got to worry about Gronk. Although the one thing that I will point out is the Chargers have done kind of shockingly well against tight ends this year, despite having played Zach Ertz, who leads all tight ends in touchdowns and yards this season, and Travis Kelce, who's third in yards and fifth in touchdowns. The Chargers have allowed 0 touchdowns to tight ends this season and only 313 yards receiving to tight ends, so including holding Travis Kelce to 1 yard, which is just unbelievable. So they whatever they did to stop Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce, just rinse and repeat with Gronk.
Uh, Great stats. One way to look at it is those two teams beat the Chargers. So by
True,
perhaps
true.
maybe we'll see. We'll see. It's a good stat that you shared with us there. I read somewhere that Belichick earned a lot of respect for Philip Rivers when he coached him at the Pro Bowl.
Hmm.
He's had nothing but nice to say. How's that battle plan going to work? Belichick versus Rivers.
So
Is
I,
Rivers gonna? Is he smart enough to beat this Belichick man?
so I don't it comes down to the players on the field, and I
Mm-hmm.
think given a even an average defense, Belichick and Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator over there, they can put together a game plan to pretty much beat anybody. But the fact that the Patriots are so banged up and have such just bad linebackers and a bad defensive line, I don't think the game plan is really going to. I mean, they would literally have to create magic to stop Rivers in this offense this week with how poorly their players have been playing on defense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the magic may be in that weather. If it's so crazy that they can't even throw the ball. Now, I'm speaking about Brady and Rivers. That may be the be what the doctor ordered for Belichick. So we'll see. You're absolutely right. Rivers has a lot of weapons at his disposal. So quickly, let's get through the three matchups you're looking forward to.
So I think the matchup I'm looking forward to most is going to be Hunter Henry versus their linebackers. Their linebackers are garbage against the pass. Even though I mean, Elandon Roberts is one of my favorite. He's been one of my favorite prospects the past couple of years, and he's great going downhill. He's great against the run, but he's pretty much a liability in pass coverage. And so I think Hunter Henry is going to be able to have his yet another really good game. I'll be really excited to watch the Chargers pass rushing duo against the Patriots offensive line because the Patriots offensive line is pretty crap.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side of that, I'm really interested to see how the Chargers secondary does against Tom Brady and these receivers if the weather allows them to pass, because the Chargers defense does such a good job of creating pressure and pressuring quarterbacks, and that's what helps the DBs on the back end. But Tom Brady leads the league in passer rating when he's being pressured, with almost a perfect 141.3 passer rating when he's being pressured. So
Wow. Yeah.
it's gonna be really interesting to see if the secondary can control that after the pass rush, moves Tom Brady around and hurries him up.
Yeah. I'm really interested on that Rivers versus Belichick battle. We see Rivers all the time. He takes the play clock all the way down to 2-1. If Want to see if Rivers could expose that Belichick defense, or I mean, I know it's Patricia defense, but still, we'll see if Rivers cannot pull any delay games. That'll be a good indication of if the Chargers are going to win or not. Let's go to our prediction for this game. Who you got?
So I'm gonna remain an optimist here, and I'm gonna take a Chargers victory, despite going to the East Coast, despite the 10 a.m. start time, despite it being Tom Brady, Gronk, and Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I think the Chargers win. I think, and I think they put together a convincing victory. I'm calling this one 27-17 Chargers. I think they're going to be able to score a bunch on this really bad Patriots defense, and I think that this swarming, tackling, pass rushing defense is going to just give Tom Brady a really hard time, and I think they're going to hold him.
I think it's going to be much closer. I think it's going to be 17-16, some like a 1 or 2 point game. Game-winning drive at the end that somehow the Chargers pull off, perhaps a Novak field goal, or if they happen to sign somebody by then, who knows? There's rumors going around. They brought in some kickers. But it's going to be a close game all the way to the end. And I think the Chargers will win this one. And going back to your blowout, if it becomes a blowout, does that mean all the national media starts to jump on the Chargers bandwagon after that? It'll be 4-4, and beating the Patriots. Sounds like that's what probably would happen.
It definitely would. I'll tell you this: if you're a Chargers fan and the Chargers win this game, whether it's by 1 point or 30 points, if the Chargers win this game in New England, you're going to want to start DVRing ESPN and NFL Network for the next week because it is going to be the Chargers show. They are going to be talking about how the Chargers are the team to beat in the AFC West, that Anthony Lynn has turned this team around, that it's going to be it's going to be fun national sports media week for the Chargers if you're a Chargers fan if they win this game.
I think so too. So, final thoughts before we get going. One thing I would like to say is, if you haven't known by now, Matthew Stanley has his own podcast. Go ahead and give a little spiel about that.
Yeah, so I took over as the host of Locked On Chargers. You can find us on Twitter at LockedOnLAC. You can subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. And I've been posting the articles on BFTB with the embedded player too. So yeah, it's short format like this, about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes each time, and I'm pushing it out every day. So come on by and enjoy some Chargers talk.
He's working hard. I guess that's going to do it for this week. Hopefully we come back next week with another victory and a 500 record going into the bye. I guess that's it. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Recharge.